Hello, folks, and welcome back. This is Chris Wyatt in central Pennsylvania with an exclusive report on Australia's latest concentration camp, the Mickleham facility. We have exclusive footage of this Mickleham concentration camp with footage of the construction boondoggle, or bonanza if you're a contractor, at a facility designed for and built to house livestock and the family pet. A place where Australia will now greet foreign nationals and the unvaccinated as if you're the family pet, locking you up in what amounts to little more than a leper colony. And here we thought leper colonies were scary and were an anachronism from the 18th, 19th century. Well, folks, in June of 2021, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said that he hoped to have a 1,000-bed quarantine facility built in Melbourne's north by the end of this year. Now, this was after the Commonwealth of Australia settled on Mickleham as a site. Now, this center is known as the Centre for National Resilience. Yes, and it will house the unvaccinated arrivals to Australia. Really? So the unvaxxed can still go to Australia? That's interesting. Where exactly is this facility located? Well, this Australian government-operated post-century quarantine center is a state-of-the-art facility located in Mickleham in northern Melbourne, 30 minutes from the international airport. Spread over 144 hectares, the facility caters to plants, horses, birds, bees, in addition to cats and dogs. What? This is where we're putting human beings? Like livestock? That's exactly right, folks. That's what's happening here. Australia is treating you like the family pet, quarantining you in the same place where cats and dogs are isolated on arrival to Australia. Now, if you house your pets at the Mickleham facility in Victoria State, just north of Melbourne, about 30 minutes from the international airport, you might ask the question, can I visit my pet at Mickleham? Pet import in Australia is a complex but well-defined process. If your pet satisfies all pet import requirements, the quarantine period is generally 10 days. During these 10 days, quarantine officers examine your pet and assess them for any biosecurity threats. Pet parents are not allowed to visit their pets at the facility. And one can only imagine at the concentration camp where they stick unvaxxed Australians and international arrivals on arrival, you too will not be allowed to visit these poor bastards stuck in this concentration camp at Mickleham. Now here's the truly interesting part about all of this. This facility for pets, which is necessary. I mean, Hawaii has a similar facility. Other places around the world have very stringent requirements of bringing animals into the country. Fair enough. We're not talking about animals. We're talking about Homo sapiens, human beings. And the way they're treating people is nothing short of scandalous and reprehensible. This Australia, once a country that cherished freedom. Well, the proposal was put forward back in 2013 for a pet facility that would house, in addition to those bees and plants and horses, 240 cats and 400 dogs. Get this, for a total of 293.1 million Australian dollars. That's 8 years ago. That was the plan. So stage one and stage two, they eventually got up, and stage one completed in October 2015 was the plan. Stage two to be completed in October 2018. So they're going to spend nearly 300 million Australian dollars to house 640 house pets. Yeah. Well, Australia's Victoria purpose-built $200 million quarantine facility. That's right, for 1,000 people, which they put in here. In June, he said he wanted to have a 1,000-bed facility, Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister. And so for that, they're going to spend $200 million for 1,000 beds. Yeah. Okay, they spent $293 million nearly a decade ago to house 640 house pets. And for 1,000 people, they're going to spend 1/3 less funds in inflation-adjusted dollars is even less than that. So they've misled people in showing these lovely artist conceptions, artist renderings of what these buildings will look like. Look at these luxurious and sumptuous, lovely places with that huge flat screen TV on the wall, the nice little veranda there where the poor unvaxxed can sit there in comfort and luxury, at least in this artist rendition. But that artist rendition doesn't match up with the fact they're spending 1/3 less for 1/3 more human beings than what they spent to house pets. Now, the early plan suggested it was going to cost $200 million, and that's the plan for a 500-bed facility. But that $200 million is being spent for a 1,000-bed facility, which is supposed to open in early 2022. And it would cost as much as $700 million if they went to 3,000 beds. Now, the proposal was based on the Howard Springs concentration quarantine center in the Northern Territory. The emphasis is on an open air around self-contained cabins to reduce the transmission risk. Well, you take a look at these images. You tell me if this looks like an open-air place where people can relax and enjoy themselves. Hardly. Construction of the facility began in August of 2021, with the first 250 beds expected to be open by the beginning of 2022. And they plan to expand it from 500 to 1,000 beds. This is unbelievable, folks. It's disgraceful. This is what Australia is doing. We've already seen the horror stories related to us by people who tested negative, who weren't permitted to self-isolate in Australia and shipped off to the concentration camp in Howard Springs. The young lady who lost her job, she claims she lost her job. She tested negative 3 times. They threatened to sedate her if she didn't shut up and stop complaining about her rights. You have no rights in the penal colony of Australia. And what gets me is the sheep still go along with this. They still go along with this. This has nothing to do with the pandemic. Not a damn thing to do with the pandemic. Concentration camps for people who aren't infected? What kind of morons came up with this? Power-hungry fascist totalitarians. That's who came up with it. The kind of people that we know quite well. Scott Morrison. Dan Andrews. Folks, this is off the charts, wackadoodle stuff. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please push the button right down there and become a subscriber. Support independent journalism. Thank you for joining us for this exclusive footage from the Mickleham concentration camp just outside Melbourne in Victoria State in Australia, where these people have lost their frickin' minds. Cheers.